So it's just about a month now, 4 weeks for the retreat. And maybe at this time there's some particular issues arising, challenges arising. We settle into a routine. Sometimes on one hand, it can bring things up. On the other hand, it's maybe there's put things to sleep. But ideally, that we're developing the exercises, increased awareness, increased calm. So generally, there's a sensitivity arising. Hopefully, one is not just kind of dulling out, or maybe not just blissing out. A lot of bit of bliss, but not blissing out, totally out. But of course, the real practice begins, if you like, if we have some challenges. There's we don't like it, but I mean, it is the whole purpose of Buddhist teachings, Buddhist practice is to try to free yourself from suffering. And until we're fully enlightened, there is some suffering there somewhere, but sometimes it just gets put to sleep. It gets tranquilized. Usually in the course of our ordinary life, that's what we're really trying to do, isn't it? Trying to escape from suffering. That's usually the main principle or main purpose of most people's lives. To be free of suffering as much as they can, in the relative sense. So they try to avoid it as much as possible. And we all have our coping mechanisms, but ideally the practice of meditation, by developing increased sensitivity, we at least become aware of those coping mechanisms and come to realize that the only way to really realize freedom from suffering is to find out what its cause is. That's what the Buddhas awoke to. You have to find out what the cause of suffering is to free the cause before you can really resolve it. Not just to ignore it, not to suppress it, not to avoid it. That's only a very short term, you can say, a gratification, but not an ultimate resolution. Maybe you just have a temporary respite. But ideally, we have the Buddhist teachings to guide us to ways to find ways to work through the suffering. So when particular challenges arise, I mean, you can say in a way, eureka! Great! I got some suffering to work with. Some suffering to work through. My practice is progressing now, you see. If it's just you're just in the doldrums, well, you got a little holiday maybe, but you aren't really progressing. You aren't really working through the suffering. So the first stage is to be able to, as the Buddha says, to be aware of greed, aversion, delusion. Be aware of these states of mind and these particular, reactions, emotional reactions. First of all, be aware of them, and then find a skillful means to work through them. That's a key word is skillful means. Upaya, in Thai, ubai. Find the ubais, the skillful means to work with the particular challenges and ideally work through them. And this is, it was one of the great talents of Luang Por Chah, because he had a great variety of, you can say, medicines to apply. He could use, he was a very adept at finding skillful means. So some teachers, they hold on to a particular system. They have a particular system of teaching, a very formal system, and you just apply yourself to that and hope for the best, I guess. Maybe for some people it works. People who are, maybe they have a lot of faith or something. But for others who are more complicated, most Westerners are very complicated. I don't know, I shouldn't generalize, but you have usually a lot of things to work with. Ajahn Chah once gave this analogy of the Westerners. He said the Westerners are like people who have a big house, you see, and of course it takes a lot of work to clean that house, and sort it out and keep it clean and look after it. But once it's in order, it's also a place to receive many people. Many people can use that house, you see, when it's really big. So, it's maybe at this level we're still working on cleaning out the house. And, Ajahn Chah had his particular, he had particular techniques, kind of the general ones, just like the Buddha did. I just read one of the scriptures yesterday or today even. The Buddha was about the teaching on developing mindfulness of breathing. And he was just going through all the different uses for mindfulness of breathing. From developing the absorptions, to developing the insight meditations, based upon development of mindfulness of breathing. For other people, it's maybe not enough. Maybe they need some other techniques. I think I mentioned last week, the Buddha said in general, you develop the meditation on the 32 parts of the body, or the asubha kammatthana, to deal with greed or lust, and developing the meditation on friendliness, metta bhavana, if you have real difficulty with aversion, and the development of mindfulness of breathing was generally used to help to deal with discursive thinking, too much thinking going on. And then there was the reflection on impermanence, to see through the I-making, the self, and see how all these things we take to be ourself are really just changing phenomena. So what's there to hold on to? Nothing really to grasp as a self. But when we have some particular issues, maybe they persist. Maybe there's, at this stage you've noticed, there's some deeply ingrained habits, some deeply ingrained emotional states that keep returning again and again and again. Then maybe it requires we have to look at it in a different way, to get another perspective on it. One of Ajahn Chah's teachers, Ajahn Tongrat, there's not much written about him, but one of his particular, he was apparently was a very original meditator, very unique, had a lot of very unique ways of practice. And so one of his teachings was, to deal with skillful means. He said, if the defilements come too low, jump over them. If they come too high, you duck. Maybe in our particular situation, many of us would have maybe some of these challenges. Maybe they come too quickly. They're too empowered. They're too energized. So maybe we need to calm them down. Some emotional states, and particularly we get caught in our thinking. It's coming too fast. We can't see through it. So we need to calm it down. Other ones, maybe they're too passive. They've been suppressed or repressed. They don't have any energy to them. So we need to energize them. So if they're too passive, you energize them. If they're too active, you calm them down. in general, then how do we do that? One example I dealt with myself was I had a period when I was in England at Chithurst when I had a lot of fear come up. And, most people, when they have some fear, they can figure out what causes it. It's a fear of darkness. It's a fear of loneliness. It's a fear of, I don't know, some trauma or something or other. Fear of ghosts. But this, I just couldn't figure out. That was my first attempt, was to find out, okay, what am I afraid of? Because generally, you're afraid of the unknown, and it's a very kind of primal reaction. You don't know. And you go out in the dark, and what's out there? I don't know. But if I just go through my checklist, okay, this was in England, so no poison snakes, no tigers, no elephants. Okay, cold weather, yes, but I can adapt to that. There's probably no robbers out there because we're out in the countryside, and what am I afraid of? Afraid of getting hit by a falling star? What is it? And I couldn't find anything. What am I afraid of? It's irrational fear. And here I was living in a reasonably quiet and safe monastery, and people were bringing food every day. I'm not going to starve to death. I'm not dying of any obvious disease besides old age, but just couldn't find any answer to it. Just fear. But it, so what to do? I couldn't get a handle on it, except, the first approach was to look at it in the body. The first meditations the Buddha gives, besides mindfulness of breathing, well, it's part of the exercise in developing awareness with regard to the body, isn't it? In the foundation of mindfulness, kaya anupassana, or developing awareness with regard to the body, the first exercise is the breathing. So I just tried to be aware of this reaction of fear, this emotion of fear in the body. If I look at it in the mind, can't get a handle on it. But looking at it in the body, there it was, heart racing, and this kind of feeling of anxiety in the guts. So it's a very obvious, somatic response there. So there was, there's something to actually focus on. This was what fear feels like in the body. So at least there was a point there anyway, a point of reference. Whereas in the mind or in the emotion, where is it? But still, it was still present. And it just kind of came and went. I woke up in the morning and there's the fear. And sleep at night and there's the fear, just constantly. And then I noticed one time, as I was being aware of this particular challenge, if you like, was that in the evening when I went to the meditation hall for the evening puja, the fear was much less. And here I was with, I wasn't alone with the fear, if you like. Here I was in a group of people. There was maybe 20 of us there or something. In this little shrine room. It wasn't as big as this. 20 people, and we were really cozy. Which was quite good in one way, because you could keep warm, The heating wasn't really great at Chithurst in those days. Everybody comes in with all their padded stuff on. And the windows start to fog up because of all those people in there watching their breath. But I noticed that it was much less. It was the fear was, much alleviated in that group of people. So then I began to recognize, there's a safe place. when I could actually, look into this. And the first insight was, of course, the fear is very conditioned. Especially when I had to go out. I was on my own. I lived in a little hut in the forest, in the garden actually. We call it the Western Paradise. It's on the western side of the monastery. It was, I guess, paradise as far as England goes. It was in the rhododendron garden, so it was paradise in June. And the rhododendrons are out, But in December, it wasn't so paradisical. They had the heater on, wood stove on. But I was out by myself out there, and and there was some strange noises in the night. They're mostly just rabbits, rabbits and foxes and badgers and things. But then coming into the meditation hall with all the people there, the fear was much less. So then I recognized that, and it was a conditioned, reflex. I mean, I had a little control over it because I didn't know the cause. You see, there's obviously a cause there, but I couldn't get a handle on it. But then, so I recognized, it's much alleviated in this meditation hall. So then I made a point, when I was in the meditation hall, to actually bring up the fear, bring the fear into the meditation hall. And it wasn't so bad. It wasn't so volatile. It wasn't so extreme. If I brought up that fear when I'm in my little hut with all the rabbits and the foxes and stuff, I might have been in a panic and have to go and sleep in the meditation hall or something. It'd just be too much. I had no way of containing it. But so in a meditation hall, I'd actually consciously bring it up, into this calm, peaceful space. And there was a Buddha right beside me, the Buddha image. I think Ajahn Tiradhammo was there, so I could always go and cry on his shoulder, maybe. Ask one of the senior monks to hold my hand or something. But then, being able to bring up that, just consciously, consciously, but a bit artificially bring up the fear into this calm space, then it wasn't so bad. There was a bit of space there, it was, you can say it's fear within the calm, the calm was holding it. And when there wasn't the calm there, of course, the fear was the main object. But now there was fear within the calm, and the calm was the main object, you see. And the fear was just a part of it. So I could do that and get more familiar with it, more friendly with it from a calm space. And it wasn't so challenging anymore. It was still present sometimes, but I could recognize, but it's just, just one of those phenomena. Until, it began to get some distance, a bit of perspective on it, a bit of space around it, and it wasn't overwhelming anymore. It wasn't completely, obsessing me anymore. So I got a bit of perspective on it. And then I could get some view of it. I could get some perspective on it and see what's it about a bit more. It still was a bit unclear. I think I have a better idea, where it came from. I mean, there's some of these are just like kind of habits we build up. Just habits of reactive habits we build up. And because they become so familiar to us, we don't even recognize them. But then we stop and sit and look at our mind and, what's that? I never noticed it before. Because I took it so personally, or it did fulfill a function in my life, obviously. And then gradually it began, because I became more familiar with it, and more open to it, more receptive to it. It just began to fade away. And so now in Australia, I thought I'm frightened of snakes. And yeah. Where's your kuti again? Oh, I think Ajahn Jaipon's closer. I can always go down and hold his hand away. Get really frightened. But then, there's at least being frightened of the snakes. It's something, more obvious, But just having fear in your mind, is fear as part of you, and, and we all have fear probably, until we're fully enlightened. I would say fear is the most primal emotion, because it's one of the first emotions that develops with the sense of self. Because the self is a phony, doesn't want to be found out, so it throws up fear. Don't look any closer. I don't want to be found out. And sometimes people project it onto other things, like snakes or ghosts or something or other, but it's very, very primal, right next to the ego, you see. But sometimes we have to experiment a little bit with the skillful means. One of Ajahn Chah's sayings was just basically, if it works, use it. So if you find some challenge in your experience, in your meditation practice, then you gotta try it out. If it works, use it. But of course, that implies that you do apply it. You have to use it, find out if it works. And like something like the practice of metta bhavana or aversion, for example, it's the whole development of metta bhavana is a very, very deep topic. It can be developed to a very, very refined degree, very, very deep degree. So okay, you can say, well, maybe I need some other practices to do. But if you keep developing metta bhavana to a more and more advanced degree, you can apply it to more and more, deeper levels of aversion, resistance, resentment, all kinds of different expressions of aversion. And sometimes maybe we need to bring in some other supportive meditations too. Like one of them, which is supportive of metta bhavana, is forgiveness. Forgiveness and gratitude. Sometimes those can be supportive. They can add to it. Sometimes we develop friendliness in a very narrow way, but then being able to kind of fill it out or mature it or broaden it out with associated meditations on gratitude or forgiveness can help to broaden it or deepen it more. So being able to, first of all, recognize what the persisting issue is, persisting challenge is, and I think it's very important to be able to look at it and investigate it very carefully first. And sometimes what we first are aware of is only, you can say, one particular expression of it. Something like aversion, for example. Sometimes it comes out in a different way. It comes out like restlessness or something. Or I think some people, who have a lot of trouble with sleepiness, probably the basis is aversion. There's some kind of aversion there. Aversion is pushing away. So if you're pushing away something, it takes energy and you collapse then, fall asleep. What are you resisting? So you think, I got a problem with sleepiness. Well, actually, the problem behind that is aversion. There's somebody who, on one place where I was, and they read my book about the hindrances. So they thought that their hindrance was restlessness. So they tried all kinds of different techniques to deal with restlessness. But it never seemed to work. So somehow they did review, I guess, some of the things I wrote in the book. And one of the first things I said was, in the beginning somewhere, to look very, very carefully at what the hindrance is. You have to study it first. So I went back and tried to observe what this hindrance was. And suddenly they realized it wasn't restlessness, but it was aversion. Aversion was the real issue. Yeah. Then, of course, she didn't want to recognize the aversion, so she became restless. Yeah. The mind didn't want to actually acknowledge, you have aversion. Boy, it's very bit humbling, isn't it? Me, aversion? After being a Buddhist meditator for so many years? It's a little bit more spiritually correct to recognize restlessness, you see. And if you know a bit about the hindrances and the degree of awakening, you see, the aversion is one of the hindrances that is dealt with first, you see. I think it's the anagami, the once returner. They have transcended aversion, see, but they still have restlessness, you see. So if you only have restlessness as your hindrance, you're already at least an anagami, but not quite an arahant yet. Only the arahant has gone beyond restlessness, you see. I don't think she was thinking like that, but she can just get beyond restlessness and she'd be an arahant, you see. No, which she was back, still had aversion, so oops, she's dropped back a level now. She's regressed. But sometimes we're just being able to recognize what some of these challenges are, just being able to really, really recognize them and open to them, receive them, to go. Just for example, just observing, if you can observe how your mind is going into sleepiness, for example. If you can observe sleepiness, probably you don't get sleepy. But that's a little bit of a tricky practice, I think I've mentioned this already many times, this story, but at one time, I think my first year of meditation in Thailand, I had a real big problem with sleepiness. I mean, it wasn't just sleepiness, it was unconsciousness. It got to the point I just sat down and I was gone. After an hour, my legs got sore, so I woke up and where was I? What was I doing? What happened? And I don't think it was Nirodha Samuppada either. I don't think it was a meditative attainment. I realized it was unconsciousness because there's no mindfulness there. I just didn't know where I was. So it's got really, 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 really serious. I mean, I tried everything. I tried all these different techniques and stuff, and to do more walking meditation and less sitting, and drink a cup of coffee before sitting, and only sit at the times when I was mostly awake, and nothing seemed to work. But then I had to go to Bangkok to get a visa. So I went to a meditation center near Bangkok, and I went to the teacher, and I said, he asked me how my meditation was going. So I said, I read this really sleepiness problem. He says, well, just be aware of sleepiness. He said, be mindful of sleepiness. I said, well, isn't that the problem? But anyway, I stayed in this place for 3 months with nothing to do but watch sleepiness for 3 months. It was a meditation center, so there's nothing else you can do. And they didn't even allow you to read books. You talk to the teacher once a day for 5 minutes or so. And then as I was trying to observe sleepiness after the first month, I noticed, hey, there's something there before sleepiness, before unconsciousness. There's neutral feeling tone. There's no feeling tone there. Not pleasant, not unpleasant, must be neutral. That's interesting. Then I got consciousness. Then the second month, I noticed something else. I noticed that there was a lack of, you can say, a lack of clarity of mind. And then I realized what I've been doing. When I was up in the monastery, meditation monastery in Chiang Mai, I had many what I defined as many worried thoughts, because I didn't know what I was doing actually. Should I stay? Should I go? Should I stay here? Should I go somewhere else? So I looked in the meditation manual, Suddhimagga, what to do about worry. It said equanimity. Equanimity, that's what I need, equanimity. So I tried to develop equanimity as a meditation, and I fell asleep. But then what I realized, what I was doing, I wasn't developing equanimity. I was developing indifference. And a big difference. Equanimity actually is a very, very advanced state of mind. It's the fourth of the Brahma Viharas. It's in the fourth absorption, equanimity. Very, very advanced state of mind. So what I was doing actually is developing indifference. I thought equanimity was turning off. Where equanimity actually is tuning in. It's being even-minded with experiences, with reality, with sense impressions, but being even-minded, you see. But the kind of, the cheap version is indifference. Don't do anything, don't hear anything, just shut down, you see. So it was shutting down, I shut down the mind, neutral feeling tone, and unconsciousness. But of course, it went just like that, But being in this meditation monastery, I could observe this process. The mind slowed down, so I could observe 3 stages here: indifference, neutral feeling tone, unconsciousness. So then I had to stop developing indifference. Turn the mind back on again, to be alert and aware, mindful of what's going on in the mind, rather than being, rather than turning it off, not being aware of anything. And then, of course, when I stopped developing indifference, of course, the worry came back. But at least I didn't fall asleep. And I had a bit more wisdom to deal with the worry now, see? Recognizing it just as a conditioned phenomena. So if you let your mind dwell in the worry, it just compounds it. It's like putting fuel on the fire, you see. And you worry about one thing, and then there's something else to worry about. Or worry about where you're. Say, well, it's just I don't know. Worry is more like I have to know, I want to know, I have to know, I should know, but you say I don't know. So worry hasn't got